The Ashley River Park is located near the beautiful scenic side of the Ashley River, right off of Bacon's Bridge Road. It's getting a lot of rave reviews from residents and non-residents in Dorchester County. Today, I talk one-on-one with Dorchester County Councilman Jay Byars for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Dorchester County Councilman Jay Byars, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
I'm glad to be here, my friends. Always good to see you.
Yes, sir. You know, the first time I met you was actually at the seaweed reception.
Yes.
Or the opening reception, I should say. And we talked about obviously doing an interview with me about the newly opened Ashley River Park.
Yes.
I know the Ashley River Park is located near the beautiful scenic side of the Ashley River off of Bacon's Bridge Road.
Yeah.
The site features many amenities and recreation activities for visitors of all ages. The park is open from dawn to dusk, daily that is.
Yes.
And just recently, the park, I know, had some major milestones.
Yeah.
Talk to me about where you are emotionally.
You know, it's been a 10-year journey to see this happen. And to be able to get it to the finish line, but not only to the finish line, just watch the community enjoy all of that work. It's been rewarding. I was out there yesterday and we were looking to do a few things. And every time I'm out there, people just come up and like, this is amazing. This is great. You know, and they're so appreciative of what's happened. Everybody loves Charleston County parks. I mean, for the last 40 years. There's no reason we can't do that in Dorchester County. We've done that. So they're super excited. It's been fun to watch. And really, it's only going to get better. This is just the beginning.
Wow. And you talk about the people. What is the average age of park visitors there?
Now, that's a great question. I like to tell people we designed this park that if you're 93 years old or if you're 3 years old, there's something for you to do.
Yes.
I'd say you go out there, you go around the playground splash pad, it's young families. You know, maybe some grandparents bring the kids out. You go out to the walking trails, it's a lot more, you know, seniors, just people getting out and working and exercising. It's a wide range, man. I wouldn't be able to tell you the average. I'd say whatever the average age of the American is, because they're all coming.
How many of those visitors, Jay, are actually between, say, my age, 35 to 64 years?
A lot. A lot. I mean, you go out there if you like to fish, or if you just want to get outside, walk, or just go do a picnic, go throw some frisbee, whatever it is you want to do, man, go play with the dog. There's literally something for you to do. So, I mean, I'm out there 2 or 3 times a week myself.
Yes.
And I continually see people out there just like us, and just doing whatever that they want to do, because there's something for everybody to do.
And I know you say there's something for everybody to do. Are those visitors slightly more males than females?
Oh, no. I don't know that I would say that. I mean, just from the standpoint of, I mean, you go to the playground and splash pad. I mean, you got moms out there predominantly, you know, just taking kids out. Now, that doesn't mean dads hang out there too. But at the end of the day, I mean, you see that a lot. We're not tracking that. But we are tracking the number of people, you know, but when you walk through, man, it is a wide variety of everybody. This park, I mean, whether you're a mom, you're a dad, you know, if you live in Dorchester County, if you don't live in Dorchester County, then we're seeing you. We're seeing people out there.
Well, how many of those people are coming into Dorchester County just for your park?
You know, interestingly enough, I've had several friends from Charleston and Berkeley counties that have come in. We're closer to a lot of people on the West Ashley side of the river. Shattermoss and that group, Beast Ferry, then going to James Island County Park, they can shoot straight up 61 and be there in 15 minutes. We're getting a lot of that side of crowd too. We're getting some Berkeley County people. And so, you know, it's a unique park. It's on the Ashley River. It's right at historic Bacon's Bridge. There's a lot to offer. We're going to expand it past what it is. So we are getting some out-of-town visitors. And everybody that comes is like, man, this is amazing. We feel like we've set the bar. We wanted to build something that did not take a second seat to anybody.
And how many of those out-of-town visitors have you seen because of the summer and holidays?
You know, a decent amount. There's actually been, you see some comments, to be honest, Quentin, where people come in, it's like, you know, I've always come to Summerville and I just didn't necessarily think they had anything to do. And now all of a sudden I come visit my daughter and there's something to do and I love it and I can't wait to get back. And that makes us feel pretty good about that, because I know if grandma that's coming in from out of town says that, mom's already pretty thrilled about it, dad's already pretty thrilled about it, or just people coming in from counties next door, we're getting nothing but great feedback.
Oh, that's amazing. And I hate to ask this, but do many of those visitors actually have bachelor's degree or higher level of education?
You know, that's something that we're not necessarily tracking. Quentin, you know, when I go to this particular park, it literally is a representation of everybody in the community. Whether you just graduated 4th grade and you're out there, you know, with the kids banging it around with a soccer ball, you know, I mean, or, you know, you're a PhD. In fact, I got friend of mine that's in the ponds has moved down here, retired Syracuse professor, bought a pass with his wife, and just said, "Man, this is amazing." So. And then I've got former students of mine that literally only graduated high school that are out there and loving it. So it's for everybody.
And speaking of everybody, Jay, let me ask you, what percentage of Veterans residents, that is, had a person with a disability in their particular visitor group?
We've seen that. We designed the park in such a way that it was accessible for ADA folks. You can't, it's a natural park, so it's hard to make everything. You got some of the trails that just aren't going to be ADA accessible. But when you go out to the boardwalks on the pond, those have ADA accessibility, accessible rails. So that if someone's in a wheelchair, you get the rails, and then you get some lower down rails, but just stuff like that. We also have learned, as we've gotten people out there using it, that, okay, what we've got for some of the trail around the pond, we might change that material so it's easier for the elderly, easier for ADA to be able to just get around that. So we're learning as people use it, okay, we're going to change this up a little bit, because we definitely wanted to make sure that people could get out there and be able to use it.
And when exactly will you change that material?
That actually came up this past week. We're meeting with some citizens where the rock path around the pond, by the standards, says, "Hey, this is good for wheelchairs."
Cool.
In reality, people get out there, it's like, man, it's work to push through that. So we're probably going to pull some of that up, put some slag down, something that's a little bit finer that allows people to go through that. So next month or two, just depends. So we're usually pretty on top of stuff.
And let me ask you, were all of those visitors actually, or some I should say, traveling alone?
It depends. You got some elderly that would come out there, and then you got people that maybe you've got a child that's disabled. So they're not alone. It really just depends.
And is that like on a consistent basis with that? People just traveling alone to the park?
They are. They're coming alone, or they're coming with family or friends. Either way. So yes.
And how many of those people actually use the annual passes in March?
A lot. A lot. We've sold. We went through and we blew through our projections within the first 2 months of what we were projecting for the first year.
Wow.
Both in park passes and, quite candidly, in just daily passes. So people are using it. We were trying to be conservative. We didn't want to overshoot.
Right.
Okay, we just blew right through that. So the passes are getting a lot of use. And people ask, well, if it's a Dorchester County resident, it's a great deal. It's $40 for you.
Yeah.
Now, right now, they're only getting that one park. We're actually getting ready to start another park across town, so they're getting ready to get a second park that's 300 acres, and it will be part of that pass as well. It's a no-brainer. It's a great deal.
Wow. And when did you all see that increase in the purchase of annual passes?
Day one, the day we opened, the weekend we opened, people were buying left and right, and they're still buying them.
Yes.
But that first week, we just crushed it, and it's been steady after that. It was a very big peak, and then it's just been steady.
Steady. So when did that steady, obviously become reality for you all,
As far as
buying those passes?
I think people had to see proof of concept a little bit. They had to get out there and just really walk the site and realize, man, this is amazing. Okay, it's worth $40. So yes. Hold on,
Take your time.
I'm gonna turn that off.
And
I'm assuming you're gonna edit this.
Oh yes. Okay. And let me ask you. You talk about obviously going past your expectations, but what will be your revenue goals in the next 6 months?
When things get tight like they are right now, and inflation's hitting families, coming to a park like we have, that's cheap family entertainment, and we feel like for $2 a person or for a $40 annual pass for your family, that's a cheap way to get outside, to be able to do things, especially as it cools off. Right now it's really hot out there. So you get out there in the middle of the day, it's like, man, you got to be dedicated, right? Or you're on the splash pad.
Yeah.
You get out there September, October, November, it's really nice weather. We really expect to see a lot more people because it's just not going to be as hot.
Right.
School will be in,
Yes.
but after school, weekends, we expect that we'll see a lot more.
And so you'll see more of the senior population during the school hours, I'm assuming.
I would assume so, yeah.
And what are the recreation visitor hours?
What are the visitor hours?
Yes, sir.
So our hours are from pretty much sun up to sundown.
Okay.
So they're going to change throughout the year. Obviously, it's going to be shorter in the winter because we don't have as much time every day. But that allows us to open up the park right at the beginning of the day. We don't have a lot of lighting out there, so it's not made to be out there really after dark unless there's a special event.
Now, security reasons. Let me talk to you about that. What are you guys doing to obviously protect the average visitor?
Right. So for the visitor side of things, one of the things that we feel very strongly about, and Tom O'Rourke taught me this.
Yes.
You know who Tom is?
Yes.
I mean, Charleston County parks are nationally known as being the best.
Yes.
We just tried to reinvent or just do what they did.
Sure.
The gate itself, just by paying $2 a head or having a pass, what that does is that's not so much about revenue as it is about security. If people are willing to do that, they're coming in the park to enjoy themselves, right? They're not necessarily coming in to go paint graffiti on something or pick a fight or do whatever else. I mean, they're coming in because they're interested in being there for the right reasons. And we feel like that's a good security measure. We've got park rangers at the park always riding around. They're on their gators riding around looking, cleaning up, but they're also checking. Sheriff's deputies come in there. That's a station that they just come check out. So there's plenty of security to make sure people feel safe out there.
And I know, obviously, most of those people who work there, obviously, Dorchester County staff members work there, and they drive around in golf carts. Will golf carts be an option for park goers eventually?
Not in that park. It's just not. It's not made for it.
Okay.
And candidly, it's not big enough. It's 83 acres, which is a big piece of property. But when you start talking about a golf cart riding around and a bunch of people with it, it's just not made for that.
Now, when you talk about obviously people coming in, they're paying the $2, day pass and obviously the annual pass. Who's actually counting this?
The staff, when they come in, they're tracking that as they actually, when they come into the gate, they're tracking the number of heads that come in the gate. We also have a system that's tracking the annual passes as well.
Now, do you all also track on the trails as well?
As far as the walking trails, I'd say maybe a rough number. There's nothing official. We don't have cameras out there just tracking people with a laser that they walk by or anything like that.
Now, what are the popular activities there?
What are the popular activities? People, playground splash pad for kids.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Picnic shelters. People are renting those picnic shelters. And the fishing pond with the boardwalks, the river. I mean, there's 3/4 of a mile of trail along the Ashley River itself. So you got lots of walking trails, the pond itself to be doing some fishing, and then we've got a huge pavilion out there that's just an amazing event pavilion. So we're going to be doing community concerts and things like that. But I would say, mostly your family-friendly stuff. I saw people out there yesterday. A church group was just out there. They brought their youth group out there. They were playing ultimate frisbee, just running around the fields. You name it.
Now, when you do have those community events, Councilman, let me ask you, if those particular events are free, will the park actually be free as far as admission?
No.
Okay.
You want to follow up with that? So, I mean, regardless, we're going to charge some admission there because that's what helps to keep the park going.
Sure.
In order to have something quality, it costs a little bit of money. And the other thing, too, is we feel like if we're charging for a user fee, that's really helping the taxpayer not to be the sole provider of keeping that park open. And that allows, I mean, if you come from Charleston and you decide to use the park, you're helping us pay for the park that you use. Sure. Versus the Dorchester County taxpayer paying for all of it. Right. So we'll always have some sort of fees. We're not trying to make a lot of money. We just want to be able to cover the cost of it as much as possible.
And what are the annual costs for this?
Well, as it continues to grow, we'll figure it out. We've got it projected right now. I think the operating costs, and before I answer that, I want to get you a better number.
Yes, sir.
All right, let me do that because I mean I could say something that's like, oh crap, I should have added a zero. I'll email real quick.
No worries.
Okay.
And let me ask you this: the entrance to the dog park. I know it's only a single entry point. That is the gates that are on spring loaded, according to the visitors, and it's a constant battle to keep dogs running out of there.
Yeah.
With this park, will you add a second entrance and exit?
Yes. So that's a great question. So that's one of the things we learned. The first weekend we opened up, as I walked around, I was like, we need a second entrance. Oh, we need this. Oh, we need that. I mean, it's one thing to design it on paper. It looks great on paper. And then when the people get in there, and especially you get a bunch of teenagers or families just wearing it out, you figure out real quick what works and what doesn't. One of the things that was very clear is having 2 gates to the dog parks. An entry gate, because you come in and there's a secured area for the dog to come in, and then an exit gate. Well, right now there's only 1 gate. And so people are coming in and going out the same thing, and there's a secured area, but it can become somewhat chaotic. We will end up adding a second gate to that dog park, and we already implemented that into the design of the new park that's going to go on the other side of Somerville. So those dog parks are going to be much bigger, and they will also have dual gates to secure that. So we've learned our lessons. We're going to fix those on the Ashley River, and then we're going to move those lessons to the new parks.
Now, I know that you are, speaking of which, I know you're looking to expand the Ashley River Park to at least 300 acres, as you mentioned.
Yes.
But isn't the already existing Sawmill Branch Trail, which residents say is actually in need of overhaul and extension, Oak Brook, the Dorchester Road, more important?
They're equally important. So I'm very my house was right behind that trail. And so that trail is extremely important to me. We had some funding back in 2011 that was approved with COG. That got tied up for a decade because of the Berlin G. Myers Parkway. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't engineer it. We couldn't do anything at all because that could have affected the Berlin G. Myers approval with the Corps of Engineers. That's back on the docket. In fact, last week at council, I asked that to be put back into the project list to move forward. We're going to be building that pretty soon. The funding will be there if we do a new transportation penny this year.
Right.
We're going to be looking at doing that. So the way I look at that is right now that Sawmill Branch Trail terminates at the YMCA. We need to get it down to Dorchester Road. And so that's not a long trip, and we can do that pretty easily. But that's only phase one of what needs to happen there. What I want to see happen is we do that, and then phase two gets a pedestrian bridge across Dorchester Road into Colonial Dorchester Park with a bike path down to Justin Boat Landing, so that it extends even further. Now that's going to be a different phase altogether. That'll take a little longer, a little more permitting, but the vision's always been there. This is just as important. It just got hung up in permitting bureaucracy with other projects. Very frustrating, but it's not that it ever fell off the table. It's been on our radar the whole time.
Now, how many projects are you talking here?
Well, when we talk about our projects, we're looking at from a park side, Ashley River Park, with the expansion of Ashley River Park coming up. The trail network within Somerville itself and the connections to the Sawmill Branch Trail extension, bringing that around Eagle Chandler Creek Trail, which goes up Eagle Chandler Creek. We want to be able to connect both of those together. If we can connect those, that could end up being a 12-mile trail within Somerville itself that people could come and bike on. And what I would love to see is those connections have pedestrian bridges across the major roads like Dorchester and Ladson, so that people can get across those roads and not have to dodge traffic like Frogger. You remember the video game Frogger, right? We're not wanting to do that with our folks. So those are projects that we're going to work. We should have a funding source for next year that we could really move that forward. Those are just as important as Ashley River. It's not. There is no ranking here. Every single one of these is important for various reasons.
Now, I want to get back. Okay, well, when do you expect to get the funding source for the pedestrian bridges?
That's a great question. So we've got a little bit of funding in the referendum we passed in 2019. We're going to do a new referendum this fall for transportation. So currently we have a penny sales tax in Dorchester County that pays for the roads. Well, that penny is coming up. We're going to retire that penny early. In the new penny that we want to do is we're going to pay off this penny. We would issue a new penny, which is basically a continuation of what people have already paid for 17 years. So you're not going to be paying more.
Right.
It's just going to be paying longer. In those new projects, we would add in trails. The last penny only touched roads. This time we would actually do roads, trails, and greenbelt funds so that we could buy land and we could build trails with this new penny, and we could really do amazing things.
Now, that property across from the park, I know that the property is owned by the state and CPW. Can't you all buy the property from them now and develop it later once the trail projects are completed?
So, state and CPW, which park are you talking about?
Right across from the Action Report.
Okay, all right. So we bought property from CPW already. That's where we're building the library that we're doing a grand opening for this month. And adjacent to that's about another 112 acres we've already closed on. So that's where we'll be expanding across the road. We're designing a tunnel underneath the road now to connect those two. So that will be part of our expansion there. And then we're also going to put a bridge across the Ashley River to connect to Rosebrook Park. So we will connect all three of those corners. We'll have three corners of a park on Bacon's Bridge Road when it's all said and done. So we definitely have already bought what we can from CPW. There's some of the property CPW kept because they have an operational facility up there with some wells that they just had to keep. It's important people have water, right? So we bought what they didn't need, which was a pretty good piece of property, and it's very high ground. That library is going to be up on a hill, up on a river bluff. You're going to be able to go and walk and look over the bluff. I mean, it's a view of the Ashley River that few ever get to see.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be nice.
It's going to be nice. What else can we expect from the Ashley River Park?
So one of the things we're talking about is that expansion, and so as we expand across the road, that's going to be one piece. The other thing that we have not put in yet that we're hoping to put in is an adventure course, like a ropes course, zip line type of thing, climbing wall.
Yes.
So we're working on that. We were trying to contract that out with private companies and let them come and run it. And that way we didn't have to do that. Charleston County runs their own. We just kind of thought it would be good for us to give a private company a chance to do it. So that would actually be probably the biggest thing there. I met with some people yesterday. We're looking at maybe putting a workout station over by the pond. You know, so there's some other things that we may do in there. But then we want to be able to get that park connected trail-wise. The trail stuff, it's a big lift because of the permitting issues required and the connections required.
Right.
But they're important. We've been talking about that stuff for 10 years. It's just making it happen, and having the funding source to make it happen has been the biggest issue. So getting some trails to connect to that park and then connecting across the river. If we get those 112 acres, which we already own, we'll get those up and running. There's possibility to buy another 117 to 300 acres, just depending on what we can cobble together.
Huh.
Conceptually and conceivably, you could have 2.5 miles of Ashley River as a park in Dorchester County when it's all said and done. That's not impossible to think about.
Yeah.
So we got work to do. We're going to have 1.5 miles of it, so we've got an opportunity to do more. And the property across the street is a little bit higher. So conceivably, if we were to expand that, which we will, that could be multiple things. Maybe it's recreation fields. Maybe it's soccer, baseball fields. We don't know yet. We haven't gotten to what we're going to put there yet. But it would be different.
If the county waits, Mr. Councilman, how would all that be considered a bargain for you all?
If we wait
Yes, sir.
to build it,
Yes, sir.
everything gets more expensive as time goes on, as you know. I mean, things now are twice as expensive as they were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So the quicker we can build stuff, the better. Now, that being said, if the economy continues to get in recession, sometimes things get a little cheaper from that standpoint. The only problem is there's no labor, there's no materials, inflation's a real thing. So there's really no upside to waiting. The quicker we can do things, one, the quicker people can use them, which I think is extremely important because, I mean, I look at my own kids. I told my girls these parks will be up by the time they're 12.
Yeah.
All right, well, it just opened up and they're 15 and 17.
Wow.
They're too cool to hang out with dad now. You know, I'm not going to get to walk around the park and hold their hand on the door and play in the splash pad. Those days are gone.
Yeah, they want to be.
I tried that. It didn't work out so well. But I think about the other families that they've got time that they want to be able to do this stuff. So the quicker we can do things that really positively give people a chance to just have a good quality of life, the better.
And with those greenbelt funds, Mr. Councilman, where will you use that for existing infrastructure in the county?
That's a great question. So if the new penny passes, then those greenbelt funds would be used for conservation and land acquisition. So those funds wouldn't be able to be used in of themselves to construct, but we would be able to buy property. So for instance, let's say we wanted to take the Sawmill Branch Trail, and let's say we thought really big, because I think big, I don't know if you realize that.
Yes.
Let's get across Dorchester Road.
Yes.
Well, why stop there? Why don't we go on across the Ashley River?
Sure.
All right, well, is there property over there that we need to acquire so that we could get a bridge across the Ashley River and get on out to 61?
Yes.
Those greenbelt funds are what you can use to buy property.
Huh.
Now, we would have to use other funds to construct, but the greenbelt funds will allow us to buy property that keeps development off of that river and allows us to do things like build a trail to go across the river. That's the stuff we can look at.
What are those development scares right now that you all are fearful of?
Oh, good grief. I mean, the pressure for development has always been on in Dorchester County. Since I've been on council, it's been 12 years. Now, the recession back in 08, 09, that really slowed things up. That pressure daily is very, very high. People are moving here in droves. They're coming here from other places. Or just people are, you know, they're graduating high school, college, and it's time to start a career, right? And I want to buy a house. Yeah. So there's a lot of development pressures. Okay, well, there's places that makes sense to do. And then, for instance, a very real example is the Ashley River Park was going to be 147 houses. The property we just bought with 112 acres was zoned to be R4. That could have been 300 apartments on the river. We've now conserved that so that there's no longer going to be housing on the river. There's other places we want to do those things, and there's property owners that they would rather see the county buy it and turn it into things like this so that it can stay special. So there's a lot of property owners out there that are very interested in selling to the county versus a developer. Eventually they're going to sell it to somebody. They would rather us use it and get the public out there enjoying what the Ashley River is, or the Edisto River, or other special places.
Now, where exactly will affordable housing be in Dorchester County in the next 10 years?
That's a tough question. So, you know, the market drives that, right, to a degree. I mean, people are going to go where they can afford to, and you got a lot of folks downtown Charleston, right? If you want to work here in Mount Pleasant, you're driving from Somerville,
Right.
and even Somerville's getting expensive, and so just trying to figure that out. I mean, and working with developers to try to figure out, okay, how do you do that? Does everybody need a 3,000 square foot house? Maybe we need to start looking at smaller housing. I grew up in a 1,300 square foot house, you know, with 2 sisters that almost killed each other every day. But that being said, you know, do we need to start thinking about things differently with how developments happen? We've looked at some density things in Dorchester County. Candidly speaking, those are more municipal functions. But we've looked at doing some density to where that drives the cost down, because then you're not having to spread things out.
Right.
But that's a pretty tall order. I mean, affordable housing around here, everybody's battling it. Charleston County's looking at doing something. I don't see Dorchester County doing anything where we would add to the tax roll to try to incentivize that. I think we have to work within the market to do that, to find a way to make that work.
And what's being added to the tax roll right now?
As far as in Dorchester?
Yes, sir.
We've got a lot of commercial business coming for a change, which is nice. We've been working on economic development in Dorchester County for a long time, and it's finally coming to fruition. And that's changing our tax base such that the jobs that people were driving to Berkeley or Charleston for, okay, you can do those things in your backyard now. You don't have to drive as far, but that's also giving us good tax revenue to be able to do the parts. The schools. The schools is a big issue, just being able to fund the schools adequately. So we've got a lot more commercial coming, but with that commercial is also coming a lot of residential. You know, just trying to figure out where is it going to go, what do we need to protect, because once it's gone, it's gone. And so it's really important to be able to protect those special places.
Now, with those commercial businesses, Councilman, how many jobs have been created in the past 2-3 years?
Well, you look at just the Walmart distribution center. I mean, it's huge. I mean, so I'm working on my pilot's license, just got my pilot's license, flying over that thing. I could land my plane on that building. It's so big, and that's not an exaggeration. I might go through the roof, so it's probably not a good idea. But that being said, I mean, you're looking at that, I think it's close to 1,000 jobs. I mean, you know, and good paying jobs for kids that just, you know, they just want to get out and work hard. You know, but we're seeing a lot of tech companies, we're seeing a lot of different types of companies that are bringing different things to the table. So it's not always about job count. Sometimes it's just about the capital revenue they bring in that actually brings a good tax base as well.
What is that capital revenue right now for y'all?
I'd have to go look at that number to give you a better answer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, next in.
Like that's Berkeley County.
Berkeley County, yeah. How's that helping you all as far as bringing more jobs to the area, too?
You know, the biggest frustration about being on Dorchester County Council is our property line. Most people don't realize our property line goes through Home Depot, right? And just as an example, the cash registers are on the Berkeley County side. So guess who gets the sales tax from Home Depot? Berkeley County. So when people go shopping at Target or go to the next one, I love going over there.
Yeah.
But that means my tax revenue is staying over there. Johnny Cribb's getting to do really great things over in Berkeley County with our tax revenue. If we can get more stuff on our side of the line, which is happening, then we can pay for our roads, our schools, our parks, because Dorchester County residents for a long time have been doing a heck of a job shopping elsewhere and paying for things in other counties. We're seeing that start to change. We're getting good stuff in Dorchester County now.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Okay, absolutely.
Dorchester County Councilman Jay Byars, thank you for your time and welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks for having me, man. I really enjoyed it. It's good to see you.
Likewise.
All right.